Hi again. Edmond Gruss in Apostles of Denial. The period under Charles Taze Russell, he's dealt with the beginnings of Russell's publication career in the 1880s. He makes the point that for the first decade or so, Russell didn't make much impact. He says for several years, Russell's work went almost unnoticed, either because his movement was so small or the threat of his new doctrine was not regarded seriously. Some felt that to bring his teachings into the open would create favorable publicity. Then, after 1910, many booklets, tracts, and articles began to appear, exposing Russell's doctrine and life. Russell's true character and scholarship were shown for all to see. The period from 1893 until Russell's death in 1916 was a period of trials and scandals. Stanley High writes, "The doctrine he preached was millennial, but there was very little millennial about his own earthly interlude. He was frequently involved in lawsuits and controversy." Now that's from an article in the Saturday Evening Post in 1940 called Armageddon Inc., or Armageddon Incorporated. The year 1893 marked arrangements for the first national convention, which was held in Chicago with an attendance of 360. The practice of conventions in key cities continued, with both local and national conventions being held. The success and growth of the convention idea can be seen in the conventions of the Jehovah's Witnesses in recent years. This is written from the standpoint of the early 60s, when they had spectacular conventions in New York City, at one point renting both the Polo Grounds and Yankee Stadium for their 1958, I think it was, assembly. With growth came internal troubles. In 1893, several prominent members of the society tried to wrest control from Russell, although the conventions tended to hold together the work against attacks, both from without and within. Russell's charm and personal magnetism seemed sufficient to convince most of his followers that the attacks against his person were not true. In 1903, Russell entered into his first public debate, a debate with Dr. E.L. Eaton, a Methodist minister. The book Jehovah's Witnesses and the Divine Purpose says, quote, "On the whole, Russell came off victorious for each of the 6 debates," end of quote. Eaton wrote that the report of the Pittsburgh Gazette, quote, "did not fairly represent my side of the issue," unquote. This might well be true. Eaton later wrote an entire book entitled The Millennial Dawn Heresy, in which he refuted Russell's doctrine. In 1908, Russell had another series of debates, this time with L.S. White of the Disciples of Christ. It has been shown in a previous chapter that the victory was claimed for Russell. In reality, Russell did not carry the debate at all. After this debate, Russell did not appear on the debate platform again. Some have suggested that the scandals surrounding his life may have been the cause. After difficulties with his wife, she finally left him in 1897, at which time he supported her and provided a house in Pittsburgh. In 1903, Russell withdrew his support, and 3 years later, Mrs. Russell sued him for separation. The case was won by Mrs. Russell after giving what has been described as sensational testimony. The decree for separation was explained by the judge as the same as divorce. To save the pastors in quotes, from court action, J.F. Rutherford and 4 other Bible students raised $10,000 to pay back alimony. Concerning Russell's character, as revealed by the court proceedings, Cook seems fair as he writes, quote, "As to Russell's private character, we are disposed to take the charitable view, for after reading the main points of evidence in the suit brought by his wife for divorce, our conclusion is that while he undoubtedly treated her cruelly and unchristian-like, and acted improperly toward other women, he was not proven guilty of sexual immorality." That's from Charles C. Cook, All About One Russell, by Philadelphia School of the Bible. No dates, but back in that generation anyway. Russell was accused of many fraudulent schemes. His famous missionary journey of 1911 and 1912 has been discussed in the previous chapter. The Miracle Wheat episode of 1913 probably was the most famous. Russell sued the Brooklyn Daily Eagle for $100,000 when the Eagle made public facts concerning the sale of the Miracle Wheat and also published a cartoon. Russell lost the case. The Brooklyn Daily Eagle's interest went far beyond Miracle Wheat. An interesting point of the testimony concerned the shady financial activities of the society. At times, some of the things which Russell endorsed would be almost humorous, were it not for the premature death of some who believed in his cures. Russell advertised cancer cures and cures for grip and typhoid, which of course were fraudulent. Next time he's dealing with this scholarship of C.T. Russell, a major problem with all Watchtower literature to this day. I'll put in a link to If Only the Bible Students Had Listened to J.C. Ryle and not C.T. Russell. See you next time.